Glad you showed up when you did. My whole team was taken and strung up for these monsters to train on. Was just luck that I wasn't taken too. Fuck, I mean, I've been studying these judges for months now. It's, well, to put it bluntly, pretty weird shit. Essentially, Jacob and his soldiers have been pumping these poor wolves full of some kind of drug. No idea what it is, but it's turning them into war machines. What's worse is the cult seems to be able to control these animals. It sounds crazy, I know, but I've seen the judges follow human commands. The scariest part of all this is that I don't think they're limiting these experiments to just wolves. Glad you showed up when you did. My whole team was taken and strung up for these monsters to train on. Was just luck that I wasn't taken too. Fuck, I mean, I've been studying these judges for months now. It's, well, to put it bluntly, pretty weird shit. Essentially, Jacob and his soldiers have been pumping these poor wolves full of some kind of drug. No idea what it is, but it's turning them into war machines. Glad you showed up when you did. My whole team... taken and strung up for these monsters to train on. Was just luck that I wasn't taken too.
I'll be there. 2 shakes of a dog tail.
Fuck, I mean, I've been studying these judges for months now. It's, well, to put it bluntly, pretty weird shit. Essentially, Jacob and his soldiers have been pumping these poor wolves full of some kind of drug. No idea what it is, but it's turning them into war machines.
Ready when you are.
What's worse is the cult seems to be able to control these animals. It sounds crazy, I know, but I've seen the judges follow human commands. The scariest part of all this is that I don't think they're limiting these experiments to just wolves.
I got eyes on it.
I'll send them!
I'm gonna sink these motherfuckers. I'll hit them.
Okay, coast is clear. Give me a sec, I'm almost there.
We're gonna be living our whole entire life like this.
Could use some help!
Coming down the zip line. God, this place gives me the creeps.
Got it. Welcome to Strafe City. Population rat-a-tat-tat.
Good, you left them alive. Let's use that pen over there. That should work. Your friend there has an itchy trigger finger. You may want to do this solo. Open the gate so we can get started. Good. Now the fun part. Lure one inside. Not seeing any judges from up here. We need to lure them in.
Damn!
I've got an idea. The dinner bell. Grab one of the trainers and dump the body into the feed.
That could have been better.
Primo Chavo, Grace.
Here it comes! Watch out!
Only way we're gonna get rid of all this violence is with more violence. It's sad, but it's what we gotta do.
Watch out! Up you go.
Holy shit, you got him! I wasn't sure you were gonna pull it off, but you did it. Look at him.
Any port is down.
Huh. Respiratory problems. Inhalation, maybe? Figure you out. Don't worry. Can't thank you enough. With this guy here, I've got everything I need to synthesize a formula. Here, take a test batch I was working on. Should help you hunt these damn things down. Give it a test drive. Hear they're training more judges over at the Fang Center. As I always said, any fight you can walk away from is a win.
There's someone out there pretending to be a soldier. They are killing our brothers and sisters and putting this project in jeopardy. I want this coward to know that they have my attention. My hunters are coming for you. There's nowhere you can run. Hunters. Don't sound too good. If Jacob wants you, he's gonna send his best out after you. Watch your back, deputy.
Let's roll!
y'all. I'm seeing it. I have eyes on the target. I got a visual.
Change of position.
These angels.
Change of position.
Target a fucking choir. Watch these Becky, damn. Target a fucking choir. We won the battle, but not the war. Let's get locked and loaded for the next road, y'all.
Poison! never know who you're gonna run into around here. Make sure you got everyone in.
Hello to Uselinker S. How are you? Oh, streaming. I'm streaming. No, what I'm saying is that's what I was saying. Hi to audience. Yeah. What am I gonna do? I might as well just accept the inevitable, but first I gotta get some gun. And when I get some gun, I want to get some more gun. Excuse me. And then when I get more gun, I guess, you know, I'm just gonna have to get some more gun. After that, yeah.
You're not one of those Peggies, are you? When you tried to arrest Joseph, Jacob got wind of it, and things... real crazy here in the Whitetail Mountains. Yes, we're partners now.
Now that's going to be a future war story.
That's pretty fucked up. Oh shit. Why did I... How did I get... I didn't even know that I was even getting... Like, that dude came out of nowhere. How did I get shot? I got shot right in the fucking leg.
You shouldn't have come for me. You should have run. The world is weak. Soft. We have forgotten what it is to be strong. You know, our heroes used to be gods. And now our heroes are godless. Weak. Feeble. Diseased. We let the weak dictate to the powerful, and then we are shocked to find ourselves adrift. But history knows the value of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Culling the herd so that it stays strong.
Oh, yeah.
Over and over, the lives of the many have outweighed the lives of the few. This is how we survived. And we've forgotten. And now, the bill has come due. Now, the collapse is upon us. And this time, the lives of the few outweigh the lives of the many. And when a nation that's never known hunger or desperation descends into madness, we'll be ready. We will call the herd. We will do what needs to be done.
What the fuck is going on here?
Excellent.
Yeah?
Good. Call the herd. Keep moving. Call the herd!
Okay. Don't know what the fuck, where the fuck I'm going. Okay, dead end again. Alright,
Well done.
Oh shit.
You're no hero!
Yes. Sacrifice the weak.
No idea where I'm going.
Keep going.
Fuck am I going? Okay. Oh, jeez, an MP5. Okay.
Call the herd!
Okay.
Good.
Oh, fuck. Yo, that shit was cool. Hopefully I didn't do anything terrible.
We check those chairs. I've still been in filth for days. Walker, get some windows open. Yes, sir. Someone shut that music off.
Christ, it's Sully. When did they get him? Why are we even bothering with this? They're all dead.
Check him anyways.
Why am I all stuck on corpse duty?
That guy was a traitor?
Holy shit! Oh,
What?
fuck.
Live one. Walker, go truck. Yes, sir.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Give me a hand, kid.
Dude, was that guy a traitor that I hired? Cause they're all wearing the same fucking clothes, man.
What's the deputy doing?
I'm not too comfortable with what the fuck's going on.
You're gonna be okay, hero. Whitetail's got you now.
We're bringing him back to the holster?
Where else?
Oh, they're the whitetails.
Like this.
Don't worry about Candy.
Also, each area has their own faction. Oh, so like Jacob's region has the motherfucking Cougars, and John's region has the Cougars, and Jacob's region has the motherfucking Whitetails. And whoever the fuck Faith has is whoever the fuck Faith has. I don't fucking know. I get it. I'm picking up what they're dropping. Okay. That makes sense. Now, how cool was that? How cool was that, guys? Comment if you liked that.
Are you out of your fucking
Because I have no
mind?
idea if I did anything bad.
and I agree.
You agree.
Whoa. I was at best an impartial observer.
This is stupid. And this is dangerous. You both know better.
What was I supposed to do?
Leave him to die.
Tammy.
They've been in that room for God knows how long. I've seen what it does to people. You haven't. You can't trust this one.
That's what everyone said about you.
Luckily, I didn't listen. This is not up for discussion. We need him. That's all there is to it. Understand?
Oh, fuck you too, bitch. Damn.
Took that real well.
Out.
I didn't do anything.
I meant what I said. We need you. Let's get you some rest.
Hey, what's up?
Always like, oh fuck, what am I doing with my life? I'm always pausing and waking up like, oh my god, what am I doing with my goddamn life? Jesus.
Only buy guns, man. I don't give a shit.
That fucking burgers, they got that gluten-free bun and no plate, suspiciously, because it phased through the goddamn table. They got the fucking egg sunny side up with the bacon. Okay.
You're up.
Damn.
Eli needs a word with you.
It's a gluten-free egg. I didn't even know those existed. Only in Montana, boy. Ooh, they got a shop. It's not like I have any money. Can't really buy anything. Oh, by the way, the update on my character, the way my character looks, he looks like this now. I added shades. To be honest, I'd rather have... Excuse me.
You're the one everyone's been talking about.
Whoa, you're awake. Eli wants a quick word with you.
Look who's back from the dead.
Good to see you standing. Been trying to track you down, Deputy. Dutch speaks highly. Look, I'll get right to it. I know what you did down south. You got the father thinking twice now, and that's good for us. We're bleeding bodies up here. No two ways about it. I don't know if we'll be able to hold out more than a week at this rate. Times are desperate, to say the least. I'm trying to get some footholds back, so I sent a handful of whitetails out to sabotage the visitor center. The cult's been using it as a depot for that bliss shit. But our guys walked right into a fucking trap. They've been taken hostage and we're up against the clock. If I just send another group in there, we risk losing everything. But you're something that cult ain't expecting. You're the only one I got around here who can handle this, Deb. Only one I trust to handle this. I'm counting on you. You'll need to go in quiet. Cult gets wind you're around, they're liable to kill our people.
Yeah.
There's a bow on the table if you need it. Get our people back. Good luck.
The wolves were just making a comeback.
Good luck, Jeff.
They'll never come back.
So, you've met Eli. You're in good hands now. He'll get you squared away with anything they need up there in the
Oh,
mountains.
so this guy's
I'll
here.
still keep an eye on you, though. Talk soon, kid.
I cannot believe I got shot in my goddamn leg. Like,
Let's roll out.
I'm gonna try the flamethrower again. Maybe it's because my health wasn't high enough. I don't know.
I'm relocating. I see a threat. Damn it!
Outstanding work, Deb. We're gonna take this goddamn mountain back from Jacob. I know it. Picking up a lot of angry chatter from the cult. They're calling in chopper convoys to patrol for whitetails. Keep your head on a swivel and an eye to the sky. Hey, Deputy. Thought I'd check in. Lost a couple of patrols the last few days. Walker, you remember him? Guy with a stutter? Well, he's MIA now. Just watch your back out there. We can't afford to lose you, too.
Am I being tracked again? Fry.
Shown up, who knows what would have happened?
Eli's gotta have balls of steel.
Why is it only black niggas in here? What the fuck? Racist, yo. always the south. Huh?
Look down there!
Let's see. Oh, fuck.
What was that? Heard a sound. No, no, no! Look at this is. Goddamn! What the?
I'm scooting.
Never know what you'll find.
Oh, I get my D2? Yes. A sawed-off shotgun that that has seen its share of wastelands. It's brutal. It's effective. Enough said. Yes. Definitely gonna work for that.
moving.
Get in the fucking car. Get in the car. Oh my god. Get in this car. Get in the fucking car. Get in the car. Come on, boy. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Get in the car. Get in the car. What the fuck? Where with all these angels everywhere, dude? How'd you get ran over? Dude, like, you're the most useless guy ever. Right in the dick. In the dick. Oh, you know what I could get? I could get my muscle car.
Peggy's over there. No problem. Understood.
Yeah, I definitely want to start doing a podcast.
I'm at the spot.
I would like to apologize.
Ooh, I really want that fucking muscle car. I really don't. I definitely wouldn't want them there. I would not be there. Hold on one second. There it goes. My baby. Well, it doesn't have to be about, nobody can, like, what y'all need to understand is everybody can talk about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Nobody needs to have a specific thing that they talk about. Like, Noel doesn't have to be the computer guy, and Ryan doesn't have to be the anime guy, and Michael doesn't have to be the guy that talks about cars. Like, just having a genuine conversation with the topics given. God, I got fucking slaughtered. I mean, you really want to keep things recent. You really want to keep things recent rather than, you know, I mean, that's not really a recent thing. That was more popular like last year than it is this year. Like when it comes to topics, you want to like find actual things that are current within the week rather than, you know, I think you guys would really benefit from watching Joe Rogan's podcast before actually making this podcast.
Roger that. Heading to you.
I feel like y'all would really like, actually benefit from that.
10-4.
Well, mean, I'm fine without a gaming PC. I think, why would I need a gaming PC?
Man, that was close. I can't wait for all this fighting to be done. Pleasure working with you, Drake.
Finders keepers, huh?
We're not in Hope County anymore.
I accidentally blew myself up. Oh! Why did I accidentally blow myself up like that? I thought I could put multiple fucking explosives right there and I couldn't. I activated the explosive. Fuck. Oh, it put me at the checkpoint though, so that's all good. Hey, that's lit. Yeah, all this fucking bliss, dude. I mean, I'm okay with the podcast. I mean, I was gonna make one anyway, so.
We're not in Hope County anymore.
You do, yeah. No, they can. They can. Rockstar is a copyrighted name. Yes, they can. You can call someone in the right context. In the right context, you can call someone a rockstar, but you can't name another company or your YouTube channel or anything rockstar. That's trademarked and copyrighted.
I think I'm tripping out here.
Yeah, and even if then it's a mean to, even then, you know, the whole podcast would be, they could look at it as a means of trying to make an attempt to make profit, and you could be making profit off of their name, because whenever anybody looks up Rockstar, they're relating it to Red Dead Redemption and GTA and not to our podcast. But since they looked up Rockstar, then that might, you know, make people click on our videos because it says Rockstar. You know what I'm saying? So it might not necessarily be because we're making any money off it, but it could be because it's the name. It's a brand. Figure out how to get over there. Not a lot of people relate. I mean, people relate to gaming, religion. I mean, that would distract from the fact that, you know, that would imply that we only talk about video games. That again would only imply that we talk about video games. Did y'all hear me? It would imply that we only talk about video games. Just like how Joe Rogan is a co-commentator on the UFC, but his podcast says Joe Rogan Experience, which implies that it's an experience which could mean literally anything. Rather than being Joe Rogan's MMA podcast, then that would imply that he only talks about MMA. You have to have something that's universal. Oh, cool. What the? Yeah, so, like when Joe Rogan made his podcast, he didn't say Joe Rogan MMA podcast because that's the only thing he's known him for. You know what I mean? Like he did Fear Factor. He talks about, you know, how he talks about psychedelic drugs. He talks about politics. He talks about motherfucking philosophy. He talks about science. He talks theories and, you know, other shit. Like he talks about a plethora of other things other than the thing that people have known him for. So I mean, we don't have to think about it today. Like, we can just sit on it and, like, you know what I mean? But it's like, there's no rush to, like, make a name, because, you know, because of...
Six shots, six.
I'm hearing chatter all over the comms. The piggies are stinking mad about their water treatment. I don't think they like you very much. Solid work, Deputy.
Record a demo podcast, don't name it. Let's just record a demo podcast, don't name it. Let's see how it works, you know what I'm saying? Do it on Twitch, do it on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Whatever. Make the podcast, see how the first day goes, see what we can do and what we should do and shouldn't do for next time, improve progressively, and then through those series of podcasts, then we can, you know, make a name, worry about, you know, what we can do after that. But until then, we should just, you know, group up some you know, conversation topics. Group up some conversation topics, you know. I mean, we possibly could have, you know. I mean, to be honest, you can do a podcast on a PlayStation Party. They have a feature where you can share everybody's audio. So if everyone has a clear microphone, it can still be a podcast. Sure, the audio would be a little low. The quality of the audio would be a little low, but I mean, you know, it's a start. It's not, you know, you're not supposed to get $1,000 microphones and shit like that. And like a fucking master editing and shit like that. I mean, that's not what it's meant to be. You know, I'm just saying, don't fly too close to the sun, Icarus. Just start low, you know what I mean? Just demo it for a little bit, and then when we feel comfortable with what we have and what we're doing, that's when we start investing money, investing time and shit like that into the podcast. Like, you know, we at least have to hit, like, when it comes to subscribers, we at least have to hit at least more than 50, because I'm not putting any money into something that I'm not going to make any back from. No. That would imply that all we talk about is anime. Like with Rooster Teeth, when it comes to Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, those are things, like Achievement Hunter itself was at first supposed to be an Xbox thing. It just became what it was through the amount of fame that it got. But at the same time though, they couldn't have changed the name because of the fact that that's their trademark. So to change the name would be changing their entire identity. So that's why their name is the way it is. If you, like, you know, but if we made a name like Otaku something, we're going to grow older and we're going to have different interests. And if they come into Otaku whatever, you know what I'm saying, that's kind of a throw off for some people, because not everyone, all because we're interested in anime does not mean that everyone who watches it will be there for the anime topic, or they'll look at her name and be like, oh, they're talking about anime, I don't even need to open this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Because not everyone's interested in it. Especially in America, the anime is kind of like one of those things where it's just like, it's popular, but it's like, you know, I said it's popular, but that it isn't popular in Japan? No, manga is more popular in Japan than anime. I mean, because they prefer to read anyway. They prefer to read, and honestly, before anime was made, all there was manga, so it's just traditional. Not surprised. Not surprised at all. Not surprised. Yeah, because... Well, I mean, the main reason's mostly for the culture and... Well, the culture and, like... Yeah, the culture, more so for the culture, the environment, and, like, you know, like, and all the other different shit, you know? Like the food and stuff like that.
There's a huge Peggy stash deep inside the old Bright Warden health mine. There's a huge Peggy stash deep inside the old Bright Warden health mine. We're talking guns, ammo, stuff we need. Feels like we're constantly running low on supplies. I think we should take theirs.
Well, still breathing. Oh, shit.
You might want to walk away from the truck, because it's a, you know what? Well, I've heard the opposite. I hear that in Japan, well, in Asia in general, like in Korea and shit like that, they don't really see black people. So it's just like, it's kind of like, how's your skin like that? And shit like that. That's untrue. I mean, if they didn't like us, that's probably like far before Logan Paul. I mean, not only did we blow them up, not only did we blow them up, we appropriated their culture. We blew them. Not only did we blow them up, we appropriated their culture. We constantly butcher their language, and we think of Japan mostly as a novelty rather than a country itself. Rather than thinking of its own struggles and, you know, own struggles and how they even came to be how they are, without actually understanding, you know, them as a whole. When people think Japan, they always instantly think sticky rice, California rolls, noodles, and anime, and fucking pocky sticks, rather than how the Yakuza, and when they think about Yakuza, they think less about, when it comes to Yakuza, they think less about how it's honor bound and more about how they're a vicious, violent gang that holds no mercy. That's only true in some branches of Yakuza and not all branches. being rice gum. Rice gum was just being rice gum. He's just being a fucking prick. That's what rice gum was being.
This whole having something to live for thing really makes you think about life and death different.
They shut those cracks down years ago.
Welcome to the bliss.
Oh, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this place?
Contact. That was close.
Fuck. And then that's not even the appropriate stereotype, because he would be talking about Chinese.
Switch position. Can't do anything for these.
At the very least, study where you're going so you know the appropriate things to do and not do.
The path to Eden is clear. Those who have faith.
Like, for all we know, in some places a handshake can be disrespectful, whereas over here, you know, a handshake is just a means of greeting.
Not a good spot. I'm on the move.
That shit was fucking crazy. My man, Nick Rye. Get the fuck out there. Helicopter. Nay.
Sometimes I wonder how much more of this fighting I can
I'm
stomach.
thinking.
Remind you that we shouldn't be living our whole entire life
I'm
like
thinking. I'm taking my time. I'm thinking. Yeah, I could come up with it in like 3 days, maybe a week. I might come up with it before then. You never know. It might just pop up to me while I'm taking a shit. I don't know. Yeah. It's no rush. Not for me. Yeah, it's like I said, make a couple of demo podcasts. Make a couple of demo podcasts. Keep it within 3 hours, if that. Tell our friends, tell our family. If they show up, they show up. If they don't. Whatever. At least we know what type of support system we have. And if it takes off, it takes off. And, you know, after 2 or 3, maybe even 4 podcasts, then we can make an official channel for it. And then, once we get some backings and stuff like that after those 4 podcasts, then, you know, because that would be a month. Since we're doing it once a week, or 4 weeks in a month. So if we get a good backing, a good amount of backing, and they're like, yeah, you should go ahead and make it official, we can go ahead and make it official, and we see the progress, you know what I mean? And then sure, yes, we make a name, do the podcast once a week on a designated day, scheduled at a designated time, because of the fact that no one likes inconsistency when it comes to podcasts. And, like Bill Burr does his, Bill Burr does his on Mondays at 1 p.m. every time.
Still alive.
Yeah, so it could be a nighttime podcast. It could be a late night. So by the way, since that would be our theme to have. So by the way, since our theme would be at around nighttime, our name could have something to do with that. Like Crescent Moon podcast, Full Moon podcast, New Moon podcast, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Shooting Star podcast, Comic Storm podcast, like, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Night Owls, I kind of like the moon theme personally, since there are only 4 phases for the moon and there are 4 weeks in a month. That's not. Listen to what I said.
All those asswipes here are gonna lose. They know it.
This place is keeping me out.
That Wolverine's not afraid of us! Help! Be careful!
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying Crescent Moon podcast, Full Moon podcast, you know, half moon afternoon podcast. You know.
Got it.
I actually like half moon afternoon podcast. No. Sounds too serious. I said half moon afternoon podcast. Adding a color and then moon is unique. But crimson's like a serious color. It's almost the color of blood. That just sounds, well, that sounds average. So, you know, it doesn't, so. I mean, again, after 4 podcasts, we can continue to think of a name. You know what I mean? But it's like, just you know, test podcast 1 to 4. We'll just name it test podcast 1 to 4. We'll see how it goes, and then, you know, once we get some traction going, then we could, you know, debut our channel, Twitter, Facebook, and Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I vote for Noel or Michael to manage the social media. I said, oh my God, I don't listen. Anyway, what I said was, I am too. I'm multitasking right now. What I'm saying is that we'll just call it test podcast 1 to 4, or if we have to take longer, then that's fine too. But by the time we get enough traction, we should have a name. And I was saying that I vote for Michael or Noel to manage the social medias like Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Since Michael knows how to make wallpapers and different various editing skills, and Noel is good at networking in general. And we both are good collaboratively with technology. We shouldn't really have too much of a problem doing it.
Better stay clear of the mist. That shit's bad news.
Well then, yeah, Ryan could, then I propose Ryan as well. Ryan could help you from time to time as well. He has pretty good social media skills. It's just that he's not good with people. I mean, honestly, I feel like all of you should, all of us separately should create different topics. You know what I'm saying is like all of us throughout the week. Yeah. No. Noel. Noel. What I said was all throughout the week. Alright, so this is what I'm saying, because I don't know if y'all are understanding what I'm trying to say when it comes to making topics. Throughout the week, all of us individually, right, our own lists of things that we're interested in that are current or otherwise to talk about on the podcast. Not just talking us agreeing on the one thing, because we can't, there's no guarantee that we can talk about one thing for 3 hours. And even then, even if we were to compile a list to collaboratively, it wouldn't be our own individual interests for our own individual perspectives. That's why what I'm saying is all of us individually find topics ourselves, so that when the podcast is aired, we have our own lists. We can go over it before the podcast and be like, oh, that's something that we might want to talk about, and then if whatever we don't agree on, it could just be a random topic within there that just we could fit in randomly. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if it were me and Ryan wanted to talk about the Kingdom Hearts release, why it's in development hell, what's next for Square Enix and stuff like that, and I wanted to talk about Far Cry, Ubisoft and stuff like that. Just saying, not necessarily that we're going to do that, but I'm just saying, spitballing. He could talk about that, right? And I wouldn't know that that's what he wanted to talk about, because if I knew, because for example, if I already know what his list says, then I already can pre-prepare what I'm going to say, rather than it being a genuine conversation. Like, if I already pre-prepare my opinion before everyone else hears what he actually has to say, then it just sounds like it's not even a genuine conversation. It just sounds like I already knew and I already premeditated what I was going to say, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it could be, I agree, it could be completely random. It can be completely random, and even then, it doesn't even have to be a list. But all I'm saying is that it would help to have all of us, 4 people, to have a list of things that you found interesting throughout the week. Like, you know what I looked up today? I looked up da-da-da-da-da, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about that, and then, spawn a conversation from that. Or if Ryan found something new himself that we didn't know about, or something like that, we could spitball off that. And then even if we did know about it, it's like, oh yeah, I heard about that. This, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one of those things where it's just like, if we come up with topics throughout the week, we have a week's worth of material to go through, and we don't have to go through all those things, but, you know what I'm saying, it, like you said, it can go on to the next podcast. What I'm saying is, we all individually, technically, we'd have 4 weeks worth of material split between us all, by having a week's worth of material for each individual list. You know what I'm saying? So, to be honest, we'd have way more material going on. We'd have around 13 podcasts worth of material by the time we all make that list for that 1 week. And we can still continue to add more stuff the following week and the following week and the following week. You know what I'm saying? We don't always have, and even if the stuff that we came up with from a couple podcasts ago that we were going to talk about initially are now outdated or something like that, then we could scratch that out, and then by the time we hit that 4th, 5th podcast, we still have a crap ton of material to go through, and there's still a crap ton of things that we still hadn't talked about. So that's why I'm saying we should all compile lists for ourselves. Like, if we just surfing through the internet, listening to music, or we just talk about, we could talk about, a game that we played, or something I saw on TV, or something, or a fight night that a fight night that recently happened, like UFC Fight Night 133 just happened. Not everyone's interested in it. I know I am. That doesn't mean that everyone else is. So that's something that if y'all wanted to get into MMA, y'all can now, and being new to that, y'all can continue to have conversations and have more questions to ask about it. Like, y'all can spawn debates, questions, and answers through being new to certain things. Like, if I know a lot about MMA, but you don't, you can always ask me, so what do you think about this? Or what is this? And then I would answer that question, and then we'd have a conversation about that. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with having things be new to you. I'd rather things be new to you rather than you being familiar with something and then already knowing what it is, and then the conversation stops in 10 minutes. That's all I was trying to say. There's nothing wrong with your idea, Noel, but what I'm saying is that to only have one idea, or only a couple between us all, is, you know, is kind of, you know, you can't really necessarily make, you know, an entire 3 to 4 hour or even 2 hour podcast out of that. Not out of one idea that we all agree on. Because if we agree on it and we already go over our ideas, that means we already can make a pre-assessment on what we would say, which would mean that it doesn't even sound genuine. It just sounds like we already knew what we were going to talk about before we were talking about it. And then sometimes we can do that depending on the topic. Like, you know, like if you brought up an idea and we were like, oh yeah, we should talk about that, you know what I mean, because that's something I've wanted to talk about. Or just in general, if you just brought up an idea and we talk about it, we could, but then everything after that is like not premeditated, comes off our list, comes off our heads and stuff like that, and things like that. And sometimes you don't even need a list.
I owe you more than you'll ever know.
Got company.
God better see that I don't die. Son of a bitch.
I mean, to be honest, it's just, you know, just open up with a random topic. That doesn't even, you don't even need to have a main idea. Like a podcast, all a podcast truly, really is a genuine conversation that's recorded in front of an audience. And that's
Becky's really thought I'd just hand over my land. She's been in my family since 19 something. If I sold the property, I know for a fact the ghost of my ancestors would haunt my ass.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I feel you. But my only gripe with the whole podcast when it comes to actual conversation is that, you know, so I think so what we say normally inside this Discord chat aren't necessarily things that we can necessarily say when it comes to, yeah, so it's just like, you know, we say things about like fucking, you know, in the ass and shit like that, or You know, you're talking about fucking somebody's titties and shit like that. And that's not shit that, one, anybody's interested in hearing out of anyone's mouth. And two, those are things that are shock value and not necessarily funny. That's not, like, talking about that shit and visualizing that shit can gross a lot of people out. You know what I mean? I'm not saying limit what you say. At the same time, though, and I'm also not saying to censor yourself. Because I'll curse whenever the fuck I feel like. But at the same time, though, it's just like, you know, some of that shit, you know what I mean, when it comes to, like, all the, like, gross shit, keep that shit to a minimum. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to hear about, you know, torpedo titties or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's just not, you know, let's just try to avoid that. Like, wholeheartedly, you know? It's just like, me personally, it's just like, you know, that's just my personal issue. That's not, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to affect how the podcast happens. It's just, you know, it's just like all that extra weird shit. Nah, I'm good. Yeah, nah, I'm good. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes weirdness is a part of most people and who they are. You know what I mean? Like, those are just things, those are just genuine things that, you know, that's what makes that person that person. But make sure, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between saying shit in a cartoon and saying shit in real life. Like, Family Guy could be as raunchy as it is because it's a cartoon. Doesn't mean that we have to have equally raunchy comedy within our podcast. When we, in fact, we have real world consequences, whereas, you know, they do not. You know, like, we can be affected by actual people, whereas since they're cartoons, they have that leeway to say what they say, do what they do, and have the skits that they do because they're fictional. Whereas we can be verbally, digitally, emotionally, and mentally attacked for the things we say. That doesn't mean always control and always censor what we say at all by any means. Honestly, I don't want any of that. But at the same time, though, before you say anything, know that there may or may not be repercussions to the thing that you say. And if one of us looks terrible, all of us collectively as a group look bad. Because they won't just say, you know, Brian from, you know, so-and-so podcast said this and everyone hates him for it. They're going to say controversy at this so-and-so podcast, disgusting act of whatever. You know what I mean? That's just, you know, that's just how things, like, you know, materialize into something else. I haven't encountered a single enemy for like an hour. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna go back to Jacobs. Oh shit. But you understand what I'm saying, right? It's not to say that, you know, that what any of us say is necessarily bad, or that none of what we say should not be said, because we don't know what we would say because we haven't crossed that bridge yet. But at the same time, though, you know, be mindful of who exactly is watching. Yeah, like, we can't just say nigga with a hard R all the fucking time, or talk about homosexuals in a bad light, or talk about, you know, make a joke about rape or anything like that, or, like, you know, transgenders and shit like that, because SSJWs are a thing, one, and two, those are just things that people shouldn't even be saying or making jokes about out of their mouth in general. Like, making a gay joke, alright, if it's something slight, it's something slight. But if you're making a heinous gay joke, there's a difference between having malicious intent and that. Because if you have malicious intent, there's no way you're apologizing yourself out of that one. If you just made a joke that didn't sound right, but you didn't mean any harm by it, you could apologize and gain love back. But if you said some shit that was like completely off circuit, out of left field, off the wall, and just completely offensive, that's something that is really hard to come back from, and that's something that we would suffer for collectively on a large scale. Because us being already small to have begun with, and for something to happen like that early, you know what I mean, would just completely kill us and wipe us off the face of the earth when it comes to this podcast.
I knew today would suck.
I mean, yeah, you know, you can't, like, for the most part, you can't help but offend at least somebody. But at the same time, though, we want to keep that to definitely. Oh, and also, when it comes to the podcast, let's make sure we're listening to each other. You can't just be like, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? I was distracted. Or, you know, someone says something, and then you come in and say the exact same thing the last person said, and then it's just like, well, I just said that, you know, and then we have a whole like, oh, my bad, and an awkward pause, and then it's just like, okay, that was painful, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, that's about it. But again, as a study, I want all of you to watch Joe Rogan's podcast. As a study, I want all of you to watch, at least, if not the whole podcast, some clips. Because there are some genuine things that he does that every podcaster should, you know, follow after. Like, he like, the guests he puts on are compatible with him. The people he has on his podcast are compatible with him. When it comes to, you know, talking about subjects, he talks about politics. I try to avoid those things, because those things, you can divide an entire fucking fan base on those things. You should never be afraid to talk about your beliefs, however, but at the same time, not everyone's going to agree with you, and what you say will impact how people perceive you. Like, for example, if you say, oh yeah, I love fucking Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump, I would suffer. Most people would be objective to you and be like, no, he's an ass, so that makes you an ass, which means I don't have to watch this podcast. and vice versa. Even if you didn't like Donald Trump, there are people who are Donald Trump supporters who are like, hey, if you don't suck his dick, then I don't have to watch your podcast. You know what I mean? So, like, politics definitely, yeah, it's the most controversial. Like, it's just like, you know, when you talk about politics, it just opens a whole new can of worms that, you know, nobody just wants to be a part of. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. Yeah, like the South Korean, North Korean thing. That's wonderful. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, you know, it's just like, nobody even thought, yeah, like nobody thought that he would ever, like they would ever stop feuding. But look at shaking hands, crossing borders, and all that other shit. You know what I mean? It's just shit like that, shit like politics. Just try to, we're not gonna. Like, it's like this, man. Things like politics, you know what I mean? It's like, one, we have to be well versed in the politics. We can't just go on the podcast not knowing what the fuck we're talking about. You can't just look up a Wikipedia, Forbes, New York Times article that are susceptible to being biased and just regurgitating what we read. Like, we have to actually be passionate about those things. And since I'm not passionate about politics, I don't think any of us are really passionate about politics. That's something we're most definitely going to have to avoid. Yeah. I mean, he's done some things, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, when it comes to politics in general, when you're talking about politics in general, it's basically like this, man. Like, you have to know your shit, or else people will pick you apart and find every flaw that you've ever said inside of your entire discussion. That is not a joke. Like, when people will find multiple holes within your shit if you do not check your facts. Because it happens all the time on Facebook, every single time, without fail. Like, that shit is toxic. Like, you'd be bringing in a whole new community of toxic ass people. And I'm not saying that like people who invest their lives in politics are toxic, but for the most part, they tend to be. I agree. It's just like it's not even worth it, to be honest. Yeah, so just as many podcasts as it takes to figure out, one, a name, and two, to get some traction, I'm fine with that. Make sure it's either a Sunday, Monday, or actually, you know what? If we all have jobs, let's just exchange schedules, and we have to guarantee some days, man. Like, if you gotta change your schedule, you gotta change your schedule. It's what it is. Because if not, then, you know, we can't be, since there is, I mean, to be fair, since there is 4 of us, then it's okay. Because of the fact that if one of us has work, one of us has work. If one of us has to get up in the morning, one of us has to get up in the morning. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, well, at least there's 3 other people with topics to talk about. Therefore, the podcast can still go on. You know what I'm saying? Joe Rogan, like, for example, Joe Rogan isn't always with 4 other guys. He might just be with 1 other guy. For the most part, he is. Bill Burr is normally by himself. Achievement Hunter normally doesn't really have Jeff there that often, to be honest. Like, not anymore. Like, Jeff just be doing some other shit because he's the boss. Exactly, you know. So it's just like they got people that can do the podcast and be okay at it, and it continue as normal. It's just minus a couple people. You know what I'm saying? So if it's just me and Ryan, it's just me and Ryan. If it's just Noel and Ryan, it's Noel and Ryan. If it's Michael and me, it's Michael and me. If it's Michael and Noel, it's Michael and Noel. It's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it can still go on. We're still going to do our show at a designated time. If somebody's not available, it's what it is. If they want to give us some topics, if they want to give one of us some of the topics that they wrote down, or if they want to save it for the next one, that's fine. That even gives them even more time to think about it and talk about it the next podcast. So they're like, oh yeah, since I wasn't here last week, I just wanted to ask you guys and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that is good and beneficial. You just have to guarantee that at least 1 or 2 of us are going to be there. You know, I'm most likely going to be there in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? Like on Saturdays, I can't do it because I'll go to work from 4 p.m. to 12 p.m. But on any other day, I can, because I either come back early or come back home by 11. You know what I mean? If our podcast is going to be at 11:30 or at midnight, then we could do 11:30 or at midnight if none of us have to get up in the morning to do so. And if at any event that you wanted to do the podcast, you have to get up in the morning, you have to leave in the middle of the podcast, that is fine as well. The podcast can still go on. And if we don't feel comfortable with somebody leaving and then the next person dipping out, then we could just call it a night and be like, sorry for the short podcast tonight. We have things to do, but tune in next time. We'll see you next week, and we'll continue the topics next week. Just know where we left off.
Hey, I want to tell you something.
You know, that's all that is. You know, it's relatively simple. Like, again, like this right here could have been a podcast. Like, I'm still streaming with my microphone on, so, I mean, if y'all were in the party chat, this could have been it. But
We need to get ready. Hey, over here.
Kill, that nigga be pulling a Ryan every time. I mean, after all, even though Ryan is Ryan, I mean, Ryan can't help but pull a Ryan. It's the only thing he is. So you have the Ryan in voice chats, the Ryan in Tekken, the Ryan in Budokai 3, and the Ryan
You're a beacon of hope here, Deputy.
and the writer in GTA. Oh, he actually announced it this time. That's not very Ryan of Ryan.
We've got a squad stationed up on top of Raptor Peak. If you want to meet them, the trail starts at the lookout tower. Just be warned, that's deep in Peggy territory, so be careful.
It's hard to get your bearings.
Hello?
chapter in Montana's history to be over and done with.
When this is over, I'm hunting a turkey and roasting it.
You're gonna face tests, Hero. What's worth the price of freedom? Will you disobey orders? You know what the law is. But those rules are from the civilized world. And that's not where we are now. The only rules here are Eden's Gates. They see anyone who poses a project as expendable.
Hey,
You just shrug.
squirrels.
Thanks for all your help here.
You got it. Can't thank you enough for getting rid of...
I could get a slingshot in this game. That's lit.
Those fucking cultists.
Oh, that's a topic for another podcast.
I don't know what I would have done if Kim wasn't around.
Dog, I couldn't stop laughing, yo. I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I tried not to cry. It hurt so bad, I tried not to cry, so my brain just told me, hey, you should just laugh it off, fuck it. And I just laughed hysterically for like 25 minutes. I could not stop. I was sweating, I was crying, I was in pain. Like, the back of my leg would not stop. Like, it would not stop. That shit was trash. Like, oh my god, that shit was terrible. Well, you can't necessarily use that in the podcast, 'cause that would imply that, you know, well, because son, like shit.
When your father says to prepare, you best prepare. Thank you for saving me.
Oh yes, of course. See, I'd have to raise my price to 200 billion. That way, listen, if it was 200 billion, I'd be cool because of the fact, one, it's 200 billion dollars. Two, it's 200 billion dollars, and three, I could disappear off the face of the earth, never worry about it. No one ever had to know how I got it, and then I don't have to deal with nothing no more. Like, the fuck? I'm good for like 10 generations. What I'm saying is, if it were $200 billion, then I'd do it. But since it's not, then no. Hey man, look. My sexuality is important to me.
Pulled my fat out of the fire. Thanks.
Shit. Yep. See, we've been talking for around 2 hours. We didn't even have any topics. We practically made a podcast without a podcast. Michael, are you still watching the stream? Are you? Oh, that's cool. I don't know. What they say, man. Haters gonna hate, I guess. Fuck no. I'm about to climb. Assassin's Creed. Oh yeah, that game's great. I wish you could up the difficulty. That game's too easy. A leap of faith? No, it wouldn't. A game theory actually, I mean, even water, the molecules still have to move, and you know how somebody belly flops and like, they just... Shit. And see, just like that, one person left and the podcast continues. Just like this. Seamlessly. Yes. The D2. Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for this. Oh. I really don't care. I do this YouTube channel for fun. I don't really do it for the likes, dislikes, and subscribers, to be honest. It's recreational. I mean, at least they, you know, cared enough to give their opinion. They have every right to dislike anything. Yeah. They have every right to dislike anything they like, you know. Ironically. But, yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, it doesn't really affect me all that much. It's not like I'm making money from this. I just do it because I want to and because I can, you know. Same reason why LTM killer Michael Jones did his. That's what inspired, actually, he's what inspired me to make my YouTube channel, honestly. Michael Jones, I knew about Michael Jones before he even was on Rooster Teeth. One time I was sick. I was like super fucking sick. Like I had like some really bad fucking cold. I was in my bed. I was in my bed for like 4 days. And in those 4 days I watched his Dead Space 2 playthrough. I had never heard of Dead Space 2 before that. And this is back when PlayStation had YouTube, when, you know, shit was terrible. Like, the layout was all black and gray and shit like that. Like, back when it was terrible. And, you know, I used to watch his, shit every, you know, I watched it all the way through my sickness and I got better. And I enjoyed the shit out of that shit. Like, it was crazy. Like, I never seen the game before. His commentary was funny. He was funny. Like, it was just great, you know. And I'll watch it, and I'll watch that every time I'm sick. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watch that every time I'm sick.
Everybody knows King's Hot Springs Hotel is haunted. And now the cult's torturing people there. I hope the ghosts take care of the Peggies for us.
That was a close shave. I'm happy y'all are still alive.
Yo, Broly looks fucking awesome. The new Broly design got revealed. Broly looks fucking awesome. Yeah. It's on Geekdom 101's channel. It looks fucking awesome, I'm not gonna lie. Like all those body scars and shit like that. Those battle scars and shit like that is fucking crazy. This shit is so cool.
I'm seeing it. Sorry, Deputy. That's a no-go.
What's up? You said what?
No can do. I'll hit all people.
iPhone with a cracked screen specifically?
Shoot that damn dog!
No.
Can't do it. We're not friendly, sir. I can't. I'll hurt all our buddies.
Alright, cool. Well, I'll see you guys later. I'll see you tomorrow.
Well, I'm done.
Where the fuck did that board go? Damn it.
I'll hit that.
people wake up around here. Someone out there?